Prepare to experience the strongest radio allowable by law. Secrets will be revealed. Myths dispelled. From the studio gym where excuses never apply, it's Superhuman Radio with your host, Carl Lenore. Calling all BluerPrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluerPrint.
There's a sneak preview of what's to come. I'm going to get a producer someday. Anybody who lives in Louisville who wants to learn how to produce a podcast, get in touch with me. I'll hook you up with a guy who will hire you. Welcome back to another episode of Superhuman Radio. Today is November 17th, 2020. We're sliding into home base at the end of the year of 2020. And I hope 2021 is better. I got to be honest, 2020 has been great for me, so I don't want to make people jealous, but I'm a fortunate guy. We have a great show planned for you today. Of course, during the first hour, we'll be joined by my co-host, Coach Rob Regish, for the BluerPrint Power Hour, where we answer your questions about anything related to, or and not so related to, training, nutrition, supplementation, drugs, life in general, all that sort of good stuff. And then later in the show, I have asked Shannan Penna to come on this show to solve a problem for me. I love Thanksgiving, but the thing I hate about it is that because I'm a low-carb guy and also low inflammation guy, I don't eat stuffing anymore, but I love stuffing, and many of us love stuffing. Some of you call it dressing. It's just a fancy word for stuffing. Well, we have two dressing recipes today, or stuffing recipes today for you. And one of them is very authentic because you have to start out making your own no-carb bread. So you're not only going to get two different recipes for turkey stuffing, but a recipe to make low-carb bread in your own home when Shannan Penna joins us later in the show at the top of the hour. Of course, I have to thank our title sponsor, and that is Legendary Foods. EatLegendary.com is the website. SHR10 is the code, and that code will save you 10% off, but more importantly, let them know that you heard about them here on Superhuman Radio because they are our title sponsor. Check out the tasty pastries. I'm going to bring Rob on because I think he and Jen just enjoyed some tasty pastries. So let's do this. Let's bring Rob ready.
Calling all BluerPrint Army. Fall in line. It's time for the BluerPrint Power Hour with Coach Rob Regish on the Superhuman Radio Network.
Hey, Rob, how you doing, man?
Good. The rumors are true. We finally had the opportunity to experience those Pop-Tarts, Legendary Foods, man.
The splendor that is the tasty pastry, because I never knew people. So when Ron Penna told me he was coming out with this product, I really thought that this was not going to be a big deal because it's like a Pop-Tart. It turns out that if you go into any convenience store, where the bars are, where the protein bars are, they usually have anywhere from 4 to 7 facings of Pop-Tarts. I did not know that adults loved Pop-Tarts so much. He's a genius.
Yeah. Well, we were in the vitamin shop, I think it was, just a few days ago, and my wife found them, and she said, "Oh my God, they've got them." So we got we had a strawberry and I think cinnamon bun.
Yep.
And they were both excellent.
Did you toast them or did you eat them right out of the pouch?
I ate them right out of the pouch.
Yeah.
I mean, they're that good, you know. In terms of compared to a real Pop-Tart. The only difference you can really tell is it's a little thinner, but that's it, man. The sweetness is there. They knocked it out of the park on those. I got to hand it to them.
And if you're somebody where protein is important to you, why not eat these instead of real Pop-Tarts? I mean, you get the protein, they're gluten-free. I mean, it's just a fantastic product. They're really brilliant. Ron Penna is a brilliant person. He makes everyone else around him feel brilliant. It's a sign of a good leader.
Yeah, that's great.
What do you have any announcements to make? We're coming into the Thanksgiving holiday here.
Well, yes. Next week I will have a huge announcement with respect to what's going on over at CoachRobRegish.com. For today, I would just like to bring folks up to date. My wife is recovering nicely from her foot surgery. I really appreciate everyone that asked, and there were many of you. Very painful, but she's a real trooper, and she's on the comeback trail. So it's good to see.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into our first question, and that comes from a good friend of both of ours, Lars Thornholm from Sweden. It's a long question. He says, I follow I thought it said alcoholic diet just now. I follow the anabolic diet with keto Sunday to Friday afternoon, then refill or refeed the carbs Friday evening and the whole Saturday. But I have a problem. Eating carbs makes me feel sick and tired, and the carb source doesn't matter. I've tried Coca-Cola, maltodextrin, fruit, rice, oatmeal, potatoes, sweet potatoes, and much more. Always the same results. Eating keto makes me feel great. But I like to have the benefits from a carb reloading. Why is it? And what can I do to solve my problem?
Well, it's an excellent question, right? Because at the heart of the issue here is really this. Do you oxidize carbs or fats? Well, usually it's one or the other. And, there are different ways you can figure that out. But along those lines, to figure that and a lot of other things out, I would highly recommend some sort of DNA testing. My wife used that. It's inexpensive. It gives you a wealth of knowledge. And I've seen it really help people, right? The same testing can also uncover what may be going on here, unknown food allergies, right? That may be making you feel bad. Maybe it's not the carbs, maybe it's the gluten. So
but he's got potatoes, sweet potatoes. He's got stuff that maltodextrin. He's got rice and oatmeal, and oatmeal is pretty much gluten free because it's whole.
Yeah. He's I guess the first thing I'd want to know here is, what kind, how much, right? What time are you consuming them, and with what else maybe are you consuming with it? Generally speaking, though, here are the ground rules. Big carb-based meals make you tired, weak, and mentally foggy. That's almost universally true. Thus the old Thanksgiving, story. Remember those two words, though. The key words were big and carb. I'll come back to that shortly. For athletes, then, eating like that before a workout is bad news. It really is. Some people will eat like that instead before bed, reasoning that, hey, if it's going to make me sleepy, why not do it then? In my opinion, all that does is shut down and undermine your biggest growth hormone output, peak for the day, that first 90 minutes of sleep. So in my opinion, that should be avoided. So if you're going to consume carbs, then I would recommend doing so to get the majority of them, let's say within the 90 minutes or so after your workout. That, given the fact that the enzyme glycogen synthase should be jumping, which preferentially stores carbohydrates as glycogen in the muscle. Sidebar, you have to really be doing a depletion workout, which means you're going into it, coming off at least 4 days of no carbs, and you're doing a high number of reps, shorter rest periods, that sort of thing. That is really going to get glycogen synthase up there. But I would also ask this. Have you tried consuming carbs by themselves? And if you think about it, That's not how most people eat, right? Where I'm going with it is this. If you ingest 100 grams of carbs from, say, brown rice or potatoes, whatever it is, right? That's 400 calories. If you ingest that same 100 grams of carbs, though, along with protein, fats, and other things, it's not uncommon for the caloric yield of that meal to jump to 1,000 calories or more. And that makes a big difference in how much insulin your pancreas is going to squirt out, right? And consequently, the carb coma that ensues for most people. Another strategy that I will use during carb days is intermittent fasting. It sounds contradictory, but it works, at least for me, which is to say, I get almost all my carbs in for that day within a 4 to 6 hour window. As a result, when I'm fasting, I feel great. I can get done whatever I need to get done during the day, including the workout, and then have my carbs afterwards. Another strategy you might want to try is, instead of a dedicated, 4 to 6 or 24 to 48 hour period, one high carb meal every third to fourth day. That might in fact suit you much better than longer carb refeeds. It's still a form of carb loading, actually reloading, I would more so say. And that was a favorite of Vince Gironda. So slightly different take on things than Dr. Deepa Squally and some other authorities, but a good method. So for many people rather, that can't tolerate long periods of carb loading, shorter refeed windows work well. Really well. And finally, I would tell you, as a little trick, you might want to try 2 to 3 grams of L-tyrosine an hour or so prior to your carb-based meals. Giving tyrosine a little bit of a head start over the resulting high tryptophan levels after big carb meals should help you somewhat.
Okay, I have a completely different angle, so this is great. You're going to get 2 different angles for the price of one.
Yep.
When you a long-term low carb, no carb keto, long-term, you have gut microbes that spore. They go into a suspended animation state. That is because you're not giving them the fuel that they need. See, these microbes don't die; they spore, so they go to sleep, and you're actually waking them up by having carb meals once a week or 1.5 days a week. And one of 2 things is happening. Either they're not prepared to do their job, so you're getting a lot of the undigested carbohydrates down lower into the digestive tract where they probably don't play well. Or number 2, you actually have some undesirable microbes in the gut. Almost all undesirable microbes in the gut eat sugars, simple sugar. That's how they survive. So when you wake them up, they're either not prepared to contribute to the digestive problem, which means there's a lot of metabolic waste continuing on that shouldn't. Or number 2, what's really, really happening is they're producing toxins from the food that you're eating. And you're feeling the overwhelming effects of the toxins hitting your bloodstream the day after and so on. Now, this is more my bet of what's going on, because I know that Lars he's very strict keto throughout the week, and that's when these microbes go to sleep, and then you wake them up. I predict that if you ate carbs for 2 or 3 weeks in a row, 1 or 2 things would happen. It would either go away because the microbes you need for the digestive process are waking up and they're on all the time now, ready to handle this food, or you're going to get sicker. Because my other theory that you have undesirable microbes in your gut are being fed, and they're going to produce more of these endotoxins, if you will. So if you really want to figure this out, eat a lot of carbs for 3 or 4 days, maybe a whole week, and see if it just subsides. If it does subside, don't worry about it anymore. It's just the fact that the microbes that are supposed to be helping you digest your carbohydrate meals are back on duty again. But if it doesn't subside, if it gets really bad, you've got bad actors in your gut and you shouldn't feed them. So you should stay keto all the time.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. It really is.
Yeah. I mean,
I've heard people say carbs are very inflammatory for them. It might be a different way of saying what you just said.
well, yeah, no, and carbs are definitely pro-inflammatory. There's no doubt about it, and that's why they're pro-inflammatory, because of what they do, how they interact with the gut microbes. So yeah. Aaron Van Cleef or Cleef, I want to ask you about supplements you keep coming back to. What I mean is that I'll use something for a while, get good results, then try something new. But I always seem to come back to certain products. Can you tell me what those products are for you?
Yeah, what he's describing is a very common dynamic. And I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in others, right? We come back to things that we know work or at least have a tangible effect. On the surface, for most people, those supplements would be things like creatine, caffeine, maybe protein powders. And so for them, that trio works well and it's valid. My experience, my personal experience, has been a little different. I have problems with most creatine products, problems like too much water being gained, moon face, or just substandard results in general. I do much better, much, much better on just 2 grams of creatine, but stacked with 2 other compounds in the same family. Let's call them guanidino-related compounds. I came across that a couple months ago. I get a noticeable bump in strength, but no added water retention. Zero. It's really savvy. I do, as most people know, I do really well on Ecti. I've been using it now for almost 30 years. And I've also noted during that time that the essential amino acids, of course, work very well, and they pair well with that ecdysterone. In 1992, though, I experienced the benefits of something else, which is still very little discussed in the supplement industry, and it's this: boosting nucleotide pools. The product in question was named Metasil. It was made by a company called Atletica Sports Nutrition, I think. Interestingly enough, they were the first to offer a quality Ecti product in America. This is, 92 or so. Rediball, that being Rediball. There are other products for things like Rangacrin, which was a deer antler type product. Mummy, sometimes referred to as Russian Mumio. Triboxin, which even predated Tribestin as the original Tribulus in this country. And the coup de grace, in my opinion, something I'll never forget, it was a powder called AminoFit. And so what AminoFit was the very first low molecular weight protein that was sold in America. It was if I'm not mistaken, it was hydrolyzed down to about 400 Daltons. It was the most bitter, raw, vile, nasty tasting stuff you could ever imagine. To his credit, though, Rick Bruner, who ran Atletica, he said so, like on the label and in his advertising. But you know what? It worked. It worked better than anything else at the time. And even today, I would tell you, if you could get it down, its effects would be very strong and noticeable. Since those products all worked to varying degrees for me, but are no longer available, I incorporated all of that and more into one product. And that eventually became Synthogen. I'll take that every time I train. Also in 1992, I discovered GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, and shortly thereafter, glycine, right? I use one or the other every night, which without question, it improves my sleep. We can debate the growth hormone thing all day long, but sleep is a huge fundamental, and anything that improves it is going to help you quite a bit. I also will always use melatonin before bed, which improves my sleep too. But also it's, I think you did a show once on it, Carl, all of the different things it does, including its antioxidant function.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
Melatonin is the best anti-aging supplement in the world for pennies a day. I mean, there's lots of good supplements, and you should be paying attention to all of them. Melatonin is definitely a foundational one.
Yeah, it's for the money, it's great buy. Ephedrine, people know my experience with that. That's been an almost everyday thing, pretty much for the last 30 years. Now, there are 3 other herbs that I use on a regular or at least semi-regular basis: curcumin, rhodiola, and ashwagandha. I have recently, those 3 are in Tranquilligen, so I get them there. I take that 5 days a week. The other that I added this year, thanks to you, Carl, was ginger. That's a staple. It's probably the most cost-effective supplement on this list for the number of conditions that it acts as a preventative for. A gram a day. You can take more, obviously, but I'm telling you.
It's mildly anabolic because it's actually a phytoandrogen.
Yeah, imagine that. So, having said all that, if you study my staples, each of them has been carefully selected to either improve one of 3 things: my training intensity, the amount of volume I can handle, or the amount of times I can training frequency. That is no accident, because if you study anabolic steroids, they do the same thing. Now, they allow you to lift heavier, they allow you to do more work, and they allow you to recover faster. Of course, steroids do it better and cheaper than the supplements, but there is no question that using the supplements will give someone an advantage. You can debate how big that advantage is, but if you don't believe me, try it and see for yourself. Training with them is night and day versus training without them. And that's not a bad place to be in the supplement market. So here's the bottom line. I would recommend everyone looking for, let's say, more muscle and less fat to evaluate supplements in a similar fashion. You may discover other products work better for you, and your unique physiology. But provided they're positively impacting one of those 3 fundamentals I mentioned, you will always be spending wisely. So hope it helped.
The next question comes from Randy Hale. He says, I signed up for the bulletin and have to say it's a wealth of information. In fact, there's so much, it's hard to know what to try first. I'm most interested in antioxidants for healthy aging. Can you tell me what to use? Are antioxidants the strongest defense against disease?
The sheer number of antioxidants that exist make this very difficult to answer. And more are being discovered every day, right? In the plant kingdom, in the oceans, everywhere you look, there's more and more antioxidants being brought to our attention. So his question also asks, though, about whether they're the strongest defense against disease. In both cases, in both questions that he's asking, a quote from Linus Pauling immediately came to mind. And supposedly on his deathbed, he was quoted as saying, host cell resistance is the key. And that made a lot of sense to me, and I'll tell you why. You build a house out of bricks, and you can withstand a lot more wind than a house that's built out of straw. I don't think anyone would question that statement, and with good reason. Pauling was most famous for his work with the antioxidant vitamin C, but his papers, and if you read his papers, they reveal that he likely knew it was just one of many, many different, mechanisms involved in healthy aging. But to put a stick in the ground, here are the antioxidants that I take on a regular basis. Vitamin C, 3 grams a day. If I feel something coming on, that goes way up until I'm saturated. 2, natural vitamin E. D, alpha tocopherol, not the synthetic DL form, plus tocotrienols if you can find them, 400 to 800 milligrams a day. 300 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid. Why? Because it's both fat and water soluble. Studies have shown it regenerates vitamin C and E. You get a big bonus there. The ecdysterone that I take is, unbeknownst to most people, chock full of antioxidants, and you can see it in the studies. And it's got a ton of other good stuff in there for you. It will, put it this way, it'll show up on your fasting blood sugar levels. It'll improve those, your total cholesterol, and other important markers. 500 to 1,000 milligrams a day of a standalone product if you can find it. Curcumin, it's loaded with antioxidants and anti-cancer and other compounds. I put ginger now in the same class. They're a great pair to put together. Canthaxanthin, if you get a lot of sun or you just want added peace of mind, canthaxanthin squelches singlet oxygen in the skin better than just about any other compound in that class. Better than any compound, period, that I know of. I take the position that if you're going to take an antioxidant like this to protect against cancer, you're going to want to protect against skin cancer. Why? Skin cancer is now the most diagnosed cancer, more so than all other cancers combined. So if you're playing the odds, canthaxanthin, I would say, is a great one. Related, and also excellent broad spectrum antioxidant, astaxanthin, continues to impress in the literature. 15 milligrams a day is what I use. N-acetylcysteine, we've talked about it before, 1.5 grams to 2 grams a day. It very cost effectively boosts your body's most prolific endogenous antioxidant, glutathione. Vitamin D, everybody should be taking that. I take 5,000 IU a day, whatever gets your levels up there. And then finally, related, magnesium can be thought of as the spark that allows these antioxidants and other compounds to work so well. I get it in Synthogen, but if you're supplementing it separately, Carl, I know you have a new sponsor. I listened to that show on it, and I was very impressed with their formulation team. Very impressed.
Well, I want to mention something real quick, because we have to start to recognize that the body is so complex that there is nothing that is all and only good and nothing that is all and only bad. And we have to be cautious of it. In fact, I just posted this on Facebook this morning after reviewing a guru on Instagram. And I said, almost every health guru today focuses on the one thing. For Linus Pauling, it was antioxidants. That's the answer. The one thing that's the answer to avoiding disease and leading to health and longevity. That's an insult to intelligence and the complexity of the human body and the interactions of literally millions of systems upon each other. So, with that being said, if you have plenty of canthaxanthin in your skin before you get sun exposure, it will protect you from getting skin cancer by reducing the effects of solar light on turning on oncogenes in the skin. However, if you start taking canthaxanthin in large doses after you already have skin cancer, it will keep the body's natural defense mechanisms, which are designed to kill solid tumors, such as reactive oxygen species. See, again, people go, no, ROS is bad. No, ROS can be bad, but ROS can be good. ROS will actually destroy tumor cells. So antioxidants are great. Should you take them a lot all the time? Probably not. There's some evidence that they can actually not cause cancer, but allow cancers that already exist in your body to proliferate. They can actually even affect metastasis, the ability for cancer to go from one place in your body to another. So be careful when you talk about antioxidants. They are very powerful. That's the good news. But you know what the bad news is? They are very powerful.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I've seen research showing that taking too much of one particular antioxidant, it turns into a pro-oxidant.
Yes. And some people in the antioxidant discussion world claim that antioxidants work not by turning off oxidative stress, but causing small amounts of oxidative stress that have a hormetic effect on the body to upregulate things to deal with oxidative stress. So the story on antioxidants is not done yet. And there are lots of analogies that show lots of antioxidants are good and lots of antioxidants are bad. And the truth always lies somewhere in between. And again, Antioxidants are good. I take 3 milligrams of melatonin at sleep. It's a very, very powerful antioxidant that also can get past the blood-brain barrier and affect the brain, but it's also a pro-inflammatory. So you don't want to take 50 milligrams a night because 3 is good. You see what I'm saying? I like to coin Joel Green, who's brilliant, much more brilliant than I am, who loves to say about these kind of conversations that you and I are having, that we're talking in baby talk, because nothing is good and nothing is bad. The truth lies somewhere in between. But I agree with you. Some of these antioxidants possess powerful effects, and there's a myriad of antioxidants, and each of them does a different job. And so taking canthaxanthin before going to Mexico and laying in the sun, if you've been bleach white all year long, which will never be my problem, that's a wise thing. But if you've been diagnosed with skin cancer, the last thing you want is an antioxidant that seems to settle into the skin and can actually cause those tumors to grow faster. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We have lots more to talk about later in the show. We're going to free you of your guilt of eating stuffing on Thanksgiving when Shannan Penna joins us for Cooking with Shannan. Stay tuned. I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration, at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender, with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to Piedmontese.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
Mind Bullet is a kratom product derived from the coffee family to boost energy and creative juices. Mind Bullet comes in both pill and liquid form for the ultimate pre-workout supplement. When needing a little pick-me-up or to get through the morning fog, Mind Bullet will set your productive course fast. Go to shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet, all one word, today, and save 20%. No subscription required. That's shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet. Get yours today.
If there is one mineral you should be worried about not getting enough of, it's magnesium. Magnesium is the body's master mineral, powering over 300 critical reactions, including detoxification, fat metabolism, energy, and even digestion is influenced by the presence of magnesium. That's why I'm so excited to tell you about a new magnesium product I've been taking now called Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the ultimate magnesium supplement, easily the best I've ever seen or experienced. With all 7 forms of magnesium, I was able to arrange an amazing deal for my audience, and I guarantee it's the best deal available on this product. Seriously, with volume discounts combined with our custom 10% coupon code SHR10, you can save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. And I promise that this deal is only available on this specific website, magbreakthrough.com/SHR. You won't find that deal on Amazon or even on the company's own website. Go to magbreakthrough.com/SHR and use code SHR10 to save up to 40% off select packages of Magnesium Breakthrough. Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000, or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
When craving a snack, reach for Select Savory Snack Sugar-Free Biltong, the healthy alternative to sugar-laden beef jerky. They use a fattier cut of beef, making it more tender and flavorful. For mealtime, choose from their 63 seasonings, which are sugar and additive-free. From chipotle rub to savory pumpkin spice, you'll find an option to suit your palate. Go to shrnetwork.biz/biltong BluePrint.biz/SSS today. Use code SHR15 to save 15% on any meat snack or seasoning. Savor the flavor today.
Everybody wants to feel better, be healthier, and happier. If you don't sweat profusely on a regular basis, you won't feel as good as you could. Studies have shown the power of infrared sauna. Infrared penetrates 1 to 2 inches into the body. It helps those with back pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, depression, and anxiety. Patients get relief from infrared sauna. The Good Health Sauna has been shown to be an exercise mimetic, conveying many of the same benefits as cardio. There are a lot of reasons people buy a Good Health Sauna, but the bottom line is you will be a much happier, healthier person by using the Good Health Sauna every day. You'll crave it, you'll love it, and it will be the best purchase you have ever made. Good Health Saunas provide commercial-grade saunas for in-home and commercial use, backed by the best lifetime warranty in the industry. Unmatched customer service and the best financing makes owning one easy and will fit any budget. Go to goodhealthsauna.com/superhumanradio to learn more and save 25% off.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. Don't hate us because we feel good.
Welcome back to the Blueprint Power Hour. Coach Rob and I, we have different approaches, and both of them are correct. I want to make sure that I say this. I don't disagree with anything you said about the value of those antioxidants and their specific qualities at all. I completely agree. I take vitamin C. I mean, I do. So,
Right.
But it's nice because what you're going to get on this show with Coach Rob and I is two different perspectives that will give you a much broader understanding to your question. So I love it. I love it a lot. All right. So the next question comes from Robert. Is it Heenan?
It looks like Heenan. Yeah.
He says, what's your opinion on how many loading patterns you can run back to back? I've done really well on 2 and I tried, but came up short on 2 of them as well. I guess he's not adding them to 4. It's 2 separate ones. How many can you run without burning out?
That is a very good question. Although in truth, the answer really is it depends. But for most people, using a percentage-based loading pattern works really well. And much of that is just due to the fact that it's very precise. So for many folks, this is the first time they've been given, here's a weight to use, here's the number of reps you need to get, and the number of sets to accomplish. On that score alone, their performance usually improves dramatically, right? Because it's a plan to get from A to B. That's not true for everyone, though. And truth be told, I'm still trying to understand why. The short answer, again, is that, it depends how many you can do. But what does it depend on? Depends on, is there a lot of stress in your life right now? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? And everything else, is that in line? When those conditions exist, I can tell you that I and others have done 5 in a row and had excellent results. Understand, however, the longer you go into these loading patterns, Murphy's bound to show up at some point. And what I mean is, if you're doing 6 or more weeks or 6 months of loading patterns, you're going to have challenges. You might get sick. You might miss a rep here or there. You might get hurt. That happened to me many times. Or, life and other family demands just conspire to take you away from your scheduled workouts. I would say that for most people, 2 to 3 loading patterns in a row is a realistic estimate. And one of the reasons for that is 2 of them that I have are only 6 workouts, believe it or not. And they add 5 to 7% to your 1 rep max. So you get real strong real fast. 2 to 3 loading patterns, longer ones might be, a couple months of very intense loading. So it's probably best at that point to get ahead of the curve and take a break. So the question though becomes, hey, we just put on all this, we just got really strong. We don't want to lose this, obviously, right? And so herein lies the real value, I think, in my answer. If you have to stop for any reason, if you're just not getting the weights, if you got hurt or whatever, Working with 80% of your 1 rep max for something like 5 sets of 5 or thereabouts is the preferred strategy. Couple reasons why. I've always found 80% is heavy enough to keep 90% of your strength gains. It really is true, provided, right, a certain volume threshold is met. Importantly, though, 80% is not so heavy as it's going to burn your central nervous system out, which is going to be under a lot of stress in these loading patterns. And why? Because they momentarily peak you at a new 1 rep max. You can't hold it forever. You can hold on to a lot of it, though. Some people, and if you get into the 80% thing, some people, for whatever reason, can't quite manage 5 reps. And they get all, thrown out of sorts. There's an easy solution for that. Instead of 5 sets of 5, start out with 5 sets of 3. And as the weeks roll by, add a rep or 2 to each set until you get to the 5 sets of 5 level. At that point, you can increase intensity a little bit to about 85% of 1 rep max and reduce the overall volume such that it's a taper by moving to, let's say, a 3 sets of 3 protocol. And the reason why I like that so much is tripling with 85% of your 1 rep max should allow you to get a reliable estimate insofar as your 1 rep max. And so it's easy to see where you're at, right? And base a new program off when you make your next move. From what I've seen, this isn't true for everyone, but from what I've seen, most people can reliably count on 10 pounds a rep. And so if you're benching 300 pounds for 3 reps, your true 1 rep max should be pretty close to 330. The same goes from what I've seen for the squat and deadlift. Here's the caveat though, provided you're doing reps of 5 or less. If you're doing 8 or more reps on these sets, 10 pounds of push is not going to happen. But if it's 5 or below, I found that to be really, really accurate. From there, I simply scale back 5 to 10 pounds on my estimated new 1 rep max just to be conservative and base my new loading pattern off of 320 or 325, right, instead of 330. Although I can't give you a simple answer, I tried to give you a plan to keep gaining while more or less being on cruise control. You don't have to do a lot of thinking on 5x5. You go in there, you do, and it works. And that's what makes it so beautiful, I think, is its simplicity. Keep working with 80 to 85% of your 1 rep max until your situation, whatever it is, becomes more manageable. Your injury heals. The stress in your life disappears, or at least greatly, recedes. You will be in great shape for whenever you're ready, right, to rock and roll again with a loading pattern. Can't do them forever. Can do them for a long time if everything is right. Doesn't always work out that way, though.
The next question comes from Ricky Brown. He says, I just turned 40. Yeah, what are you complaining about? Wait till you're 62 and need to make some changes. What's the best way to lose weight without losing a lot of strength? My bench drops like a rock whenever I try to lose weight.
Okay, so my first thought is losing weight isn't a good idea. Losing fat is.
Right.
So let's make that distinction. For many folks, losing weight is directly responsible for that big drop in strength that you cited, because they didn't make the distinction and they lost a lot of muscle. In order to do that, though, we need a reliable measure, not the scale, as to how that's going. And you're right, you have to have a way to gauge fat loss. I would tell you to get away from the scale and get familiar with the tape measure. If the tape measure is making smaller circles around your waistline and bigger circles around your arms and legs, keep doing what you're doing. That's good things are happening. Even if, the tape measure is the same around your waist, but your strength continues to go up, and you're losing elsewhere, fat from elsewhere, a very, very good thing, right? So get away from the scale. That's the big thing. Second, I want you to know that the drop in upper body strength that most people see is not inevitable, especially if you're savvy about what exercises to use. So look, if you're not competing in powerlifting, you don't need to bench press. Nobody's going to think any less of you, nor should you think any less of yourself. It's just not the smartest option, especially for your shoulders. Ditto as you age, that gets worse usually. You may be able to gain strength in the squat or deadlift while reducing body weight. I've seen it done. I would encourage you to continue to perform one or both of those movements, the squat or the deadlift, provided you can perform them safely. Just a side note on that. If you lose a lot of weight, and typically for most folks that's 20 or more pounds, your leverages can change rather dramatically. And you'll find that how you're deadlifting is different. You'll get used to it and the strength will come back. There's an initial little dip, but the body leverage points, what have you, change. Don't get too thrown by that. So what to do, right? If you're not gonna bench. Weighted chins and weighted dips. If I had to choose just 2 exercises to build the upper body, they would be on the top of my list. And if you think about it, as you lose fat, you're only going to get stronger and the reps are going to go up on those movements. And it is damn motivating, really motivating. Also, everybody in your gym, any gym in the world that you walk into, they see somebody putting up big numbers on weighted dips and weighted chins. They know that guy's a hoss. Those are not easy movements. People don't do them for a reason. Bench press is, it's not a bad movement, but it's easy, comparatively speaking. You're laying down versus weighted dips. A lot of people do pull downs instead of pull-ups. There's a reason for that. They're very, very hard. You build the strength up in those 2 basic movements. Not only is your upper body going to get big, the rest of your body is going to get the message. And by that, what I mean is this. You'll find that your appetite is not quite as much as it used to be. And I think what happens is the mind makes some kind of subconscious connection that, hey, you know what? We can't be grossly overeating anymore. Because every pound of chub that this guy puts on makes those weighted chin-ups a hell of a lot harder, right? Couple other things. I would also tell you that 2 other movements that are very, very well positioned for losing fat. Pullovers. If you have a pullover machine, you can perform that exercise safely. You have the necessary shoulder flexibility. That is an excellent movement, as well as, and this one's a little tougher to learn, but it gives you so much, it's ridiculous. The handstand push-up. If you don't want to do that, if you can't manage it, and you still want to bench press, fine. Bench press with dumbbells, right? That's probably your best option. That way, you can experiment with different hand positions and grips. I think you'll find the pronated grip, palms facing each other, is not only the safest, but also the strongest position, okay? And then finally, I wanted to impress upon everyone the power of expectations. If you think because you're 40, you're going to be weaker than you were at 30, you will be. If you get to 40, though, and you expect to be stronger than you were at 30, you will be. At least in several key exercises like this. I have seen it time and time again. Even at age 50, almost 51, I'm stronger now on many counts than I was at the same body weight at age 30. Why? Because I expect that of myself. So put those plans into motion. I think you're going to find training in your 40s can be even more enjoyable and productive than when you were in your 20s and 30s. Really is true.
Yep. I will attest to that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we've got the blueprint tip of the day. Stay tuned for the top of the hour when we solve the conundrum. What kind of turkey dressing can I eat if I'm low carb or keto? We got it for you. Stay tuned.
Quest Nutrition makes bars, cookies, chips, and pizzas out of complete dairy-based proteins. Our products minimize net carbs and sugar without sacrificing taste. Each delicious chocolate-flavored chip, cookie chunk, and crunchy crumble is custom made to maintain Quest macros. It's time to enjoy foods that work for you, not against you. It's time to enjoy your Quest.
Chronic stress leaves us tired, distracted, and physically vulnerable. Apollo Neuro is here to help you take control. Apollo Neuro is a new wearable that trains your nervous system to be more resilient to stress. Apollo's gentle vibrations use your sense of touch to help you recover from stress, going from fight or flight to rest and digest so you can relax, get to sleep, focus, and stay healthy. Developed by physicians and neuroscientists, Apollo Neuro has been tested in multiple clinical trials and is proven to improve heart rate variability, the key biometric of stress. Special offer for friends of Superhuman Radio. Try Apollo Neuro today and get 15% off your purchase at apolloneuro.com/superhuman. That's APOLLONEURO.com/superhuman.
Proper hydration can lead to improved endurance, performance, and recovery. When we sweat, we lose valuable electrolytes that must be replaced. That's why Element created a zero-sugar, science-backed ratio of electrolytes that you can add to your water. It comes in 3 flavors. Sample them all risk-free with the Element Variety Pack. Carl's favorite is raspberry. Free shipping on all U.S. orders. Go to shrnetwork.biz/LMNT and get yours today. Want to improve mental energy and focus? Try the new Superhuman Stack from Pure Nootropics. Stack Dynamine, L-Butamin, Theocrine, and palmitoyl ethanolamide together and feel the lights go on in your brain. Find your perfect mix of these 4. Carl likes 1 cap of each and 2 caps of Dynamine. Bam! Lights on. Go to shrnetwork.biz/Superhuman Stack, all one word, today, and get yours for 25% off plus free shipping. That's shrnetwork.biz/Superhuman Stack. New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor? Strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
Move over, superheroes. This is the Superhuman Channel.
Welcome back. And now we get to the marrow of the subject, and that is the blueprint tip of the day. What is the blueprint tip of the day, Coach?
Tip of the day is called the consequences of willful ignorance. Now, this is a little long, but it's also personal, and I need to get it off my chest. So here it comes. So when I was growing up, my dad would always try and teach me things that he thought were important. Stuff like, making minor repairs to your car, how to fix a leaky faucet, stuff like that. He fancies himself a Mr. Fix-It, even though it's clear he really isn't or wasn't. I had no interest in that stuff whatsoever, and I still don't. And when he heard that, he was incredulous. He's like, what are you going to do when your car breaks or your washing machine stops working? So I told him, Dad, if that happens, I'm going to pay a professional to do it, and at least that way it'll get done right. Well, as you can imagine, he didn't take that very well. So he kind of forcefully asked me, he says, what are you interested in then? So I told him, training. I'm interested in training, diet, and supplements, to make my body look and perform the way I wanted to. And someday, if I got good enough at this, I could pass that along to others to improve the quality of their life too. He dismissed that as unimportant, inconsequential, and a waste of time. At the time, he was roughly 40 years old. A few years later, I go to college and I get heavily into powerlifting, which angered him to no end because he always wanted me to be a baseball player. So in my junior year, when I got cut from the team, he blamed weightlifting, that weightlifting business. I was actually excited because it allowed me to redirect all my energy right into training. And shortly after that, I entered and won the APA New England Junior Division for my weight class. However, when I drove over 100 miles, right, from Vermont to tell him the good news.
Excited, right?
Yeah. And this is before cell phones, right? So I got to drive. He threw cold water on it. Every time the topic came up, he either ignored or outright denounced it. It was at best a waste of time and at worst embarrassing for him. Why? Because it was becoming visually apparent that his son was in this weightlifting business. So as the years rolled by, I periodically encouraged him to start some form of exercise and clean up his diet. I made every attempt to get him to start eating better and exercising. And every time he either ignored me or he badmouthed it. And so by now he's in his 50s and he's even more resolute in his view that this weightlifting business is a waste of time. He passed judgment on it and me a long time ago. And once he does that, he never looks back. All I ever wanted to do was help him. Yet it always fell on deaf ears. No matter how much success I had, no matter how obvious it was I had some knowledge on the subject that he could benefit from, he dismissed me. Now, I'm not looking for accolades. I get plenty of those elsewhere. I do find it ironic that we regularly discuss things on this show that could help him, some that could literally save his life, as you'll learn in a few minutes. Information that's either free of charge or it requires a very nominal investment. It's not like he doesn't have the money. He just doesn't have the knowledge or the will to do anything about his situation. It's important to point out my father isn't a stupid man. I mean, he graduated college for whatever that's worth. He managed hundreds of millions of dollars for this Fortune 100 company he worked for his whole life. Yet he professed to me he can't read a food label. So as an example, one day I was over his place. He handed me a bottle of lemonade from his refrigerator. And I turned the label around, 44 grams of high fructose corn syrup. This is after he told me he was going on a diet. He claimed that he just didn't understand, which is total BS. The truth is he doesn't want to understand. Big difference. He long ago made a very conscious decision to not learn this stuff. He certainly wasn't going to learn it from his son because in his world, the son doesn't teach the father anything. It's the other way around. And any suggestion to the contrary is just blasphemy. So as another example, 10 years ago, they put him on a statin. And I told him, look, if you're going to take that poison, at least take some coenzyme Q10 with it because the statins block its production. Of course, he ignored that advice. And so a year later, I'm over his place and I see a bottle of coenzyme Q10 on his kitchen table. I said, where'd you get that? He said, oh, the pharmacist told me it was important to take with statins. This continued through his 60s, where he constantly avoided, marginalized, and like I said, or badmouthed any mention of diet or exercise. Of course, I could see with every denial and dismissal, he was getting closer and closer to sealing his fate. And sure enough, within the last year or so, he's in his early to mid 70s now, he's been diagnosed with diabetes. Mind you, it's not like there's any real family history of it. The doctor put him on metformin, gave him the speech about eating better and exercising, probably threw a few pamphlets at him about those topics, and sent him home. Where, of course, like a lot of people, he continued to eat like crap and just take the pills. The funniest part is, I've heard him say this, he doesn't think he's diabetic. He had pre-diabetes or little diabetes, to which I responded once, that's like being a little bit pregnant. Of course, he knew I was right. So once again, there's no response. There's no acknowledgement. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, we were over his place for my son's 15th birthday. As incredulous as it sounds, it's all true. My wife was there to witness it. My father was preaching about how you need to eat right to control your blood sugar while eating birthday cake. I couldn't take it anymore, right? I called him out on it. And again, he dismissed me. Everything in moderation, he said. Now, apparently sweets with every meal now qualifies for moderation. No, it doesn't. A little more prodding, and it turns out on his latest blood work, he had a fasting blood sugar level of 169.
Yeah,
and that
full blown.
That was on metformin. He was smart enough to know this. When he sees his doctor next month, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. His sins of willful ignorance finally came home to roost. Apparently, he fails to realize the doctor already, gave him the speech and gave him the opportunity to at least try to do something about it. Instead, my dad is doubling down on the willful ignorance thing. And in fact, this kills me. He and his wife think it's one big joke. They were yucking it up at the dinner table, telling us a story about how last week she made a sugar-free Jell-O for him, and he put a sugar topping on it. And they thought that was hilarious. Well, you can laugh it up now because the retinal neuropathy, blindness, and amputations that are probably in his future are going to be a real downer.
Forget that. Cancer and heart disease. That's
right.
What's going to kill him. He's either going to get cancer or he's going to get heart disease. And when they're rushing him to the hospital, he'll say to God, "Please let me live, and I'll change my diet." Because that's where everybody says it. Like they're on the way to the hospital. They know their prognosis. They're like, "Oh, please God, if you let me live, I'll give up all the stuff I should have gave up years ago."
Yeah. So look, I take no pleasure in telling you this story because at the end of the day, he's still my dad. I still love him. I don't want to see him die like this. But the facts are facts. He wrecked his health via a lifetime of indiscriminate eating, little to no exercise, and blowing this all off as some vanity waste of time. All those cars he fixed way back when, all those leaky faucets, what are they doing for him today? The answer, of course, is nothing. So the great irony here is that the only thing that can save him now is the very thing that he dismissed years ago. There will be no miracles. 70 years of marginalizing this weightlifting business finally caught up with him. He's likely going to die. It just kills me to say this, but he's likely going to die from diabetes or complications of it years before his time.
Right.
The consequences, if you will, of willful ignorance.
You know what? It's a really good statement because there's millions of people walking around this country right now who are in that same category. It's worldwide. This problem is worldwide. CoachRobRegish.com is the place to go to learn more. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to teach you how to make stuffing the right way this year. Stay tuned.
I love beef. And if you love beef, listen up. I've discovered the best tasting beef in the world, and that's not an exaggeration.
at Piedmontese.com. The Piedmontese breed is famous from Italy for being lean and unbelievably tender with half the fat and calories of traditional beef. Even typically tough cuts are tender when it comes from the Piedmontese cows. And for the first time ever, Piedmontese cows are being raised here in the USA. Get 25% off all beef and free shipping on orders of $100 or more at Piedmontese.com with code SHR. Go to Piedmontese.com and use code SHR today. You will never eat any other type of beef ever again.
New Mass Pro Synthogen X2 just upped its own legendary game. To distance itself even further from the rest of the pack, Synthogen X2 now has double the key active ingredients. If you've ever wondered what steroid-like recovery feels like, Synthogen X2 delivers. See why others compare it favorably to powerful bodybuilding drugs at synthogen.com. Mass Pro Synthogen. When you train with it, you'll gain with it.
Whether your goal is to build muscle or burn fat, you'll find everything you need at Redcon One. Need help getting a good night's sleep? Try Fade Out, or the most popular pre-workout supplement on the market today, Total War. Sign up for their new Transformation Challenge and win $10,000. Or shop for apparel that people at the gym will know that you are serious about your training. Need a testosterone booster that works? Check out Boomstick. Whatever you need, you'll find the best quality supplements on the market at Redcon One. Go to redcon1.com. That's REDCON, the number 1.com, or go to superhumanradio.net and click the Redcon One banner ad today.
Want to improve mental energy and focus? Try the new Superhuman Stack from Pure Nootropics. Stack Dynamine, L-Butamin, Theocrine, and palmitoyl ethanolamide together and feel the lights go on in your brain. Find your perfect mix of these four. Carl likes 1 cap of each and 2 caps of Dynamine. Bam! Lights on. Go to shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack, all one word, today, and get yours for 25% off plus free shipping. That's shrnetwork.biz/superhuman stack. Mind Bullet is a kratom product derived from the coffee family to boost energy and creative juices. Mind Bullet comes in both pill and liquid form for the ultimate pre-workout supplement. When needing a little pick-me-up or to get through the morning fog, Mind Bullet will set your productive course fast. Go to shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet, all one word, today, and save 20%. No subscription required. That's shrnetwork.biz/mindbullet. Get yours today.
Do you remember those delicious toaster pastries you had when you were a kid? You know, the rectangular sugar-filled snacks? Well, guess what? Legendary Foods has just made low-carb toaster pastry. This is the first of its kind, and honestly, these things are amazing. They have 3 to 4 net carb, less than 1 gram of sugar, and 9 grams of protein. You can eat them right out of the wrapper or lightly toast them. The only question is, which flavor, strawberry or brown sugar cinnamon? They're available at eatlegendary.com and Amazon.
You're listening to the Superhuman Channel. We're ripped and we're ready.
And one of the ways we stay ripped is by eating a low-carb diet. And we have the person responsible for making low-carb tolerable, Shannan Penna. How you doing, Shannan?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So I have bugged you to do this show. I have to be honest, it's selfish. I really don't care if anybody else does this, but this is for me. You know,
Okay.
I'm entitled to do things for me once in a while.
There you go.
And I asked Shannan a few months ago when we were anticipating doing shows in November, I said, can we do, you know, a low carb stuffing? Now I call it stuffing. Some people call it dressing. What do you call it?
Well, dressing to me is more like a gravy or something, but stuffing in terms of the bread stuffing, you
Yes.
know, and people do it many different ways. I mean, people do it with rice. You can do all sorts of crazy stuffings. So it's really what someone wants and what they like.
So I like to call it stuffing because my mother stuffed the bird with it. And then we would take it out and we would surround the bird with it. And we'd scoop it and it was delicious. It had sage and it had
Right.
all the flavors of the fats and the drippings and the celery. And so good, so good. And I haven't had it in years because I'm not going to eat that much bread. It will make me feel horrible.
Right.
So people today are actually going to get 3 different recipes. You're going to get 3 different recipes. And there's a couple places you can get this recipe. You can obviously follow Shannan on Instagram. It's at Quest Creator. And that's one way. The other way is that we have built a page of homage to all of Shannan's recipes. And we have all the recipes. Thank you to Natalie Kapitsky for doing this. We have every recipe you've talked about on the show with the latest one on top. So the latest one is going to be for both low carb keto stuffing, low carb keto bread, and cauliflower stuffing. So you're not only going to learn 2 different ways to make low carb stuffing, but you're going to learn something that's even more exciting to me, and that's making low carb keto bread so I can have toast again. God bless you, Shannan. I love you.
And also, I'm going to share with you a few products I have here for people who don't want to bake the bread, don't want to make it. They want it simple. I've got some companies here, and I'll put them up and show you. And people can go to those websites and buy them if they'd rather go that route. But
and just for the people who are listening, if you go to shrnetwork.biz/cooking with Shannan, and Shannan is spelled SHANNAN, you'll see every recipe we've ever covered on the show, including these 3 exciting ones. Okay, it's all yours now.
I mean, you can start out with obviously making the bread, which you guys will have that recipe up. And it's pretty simple. It's eggs, it's almond flour, and then it's anything else you want to put in it. There's some butter. It's nothing hard or complicated. You bake your loaf. You cut it up. You chop it up and let it sit. So the whole goal is to kind of, if you want to do it a couple days in advance, you can do that to let it dry out. So you would break it up into its cubes, and the same way you would do a regular stuffing with regular bread. You also don't have to. You're putting butter and the sage, and I have a recipe on there with sausage, and however you want to make your stuffing, you're putting all those wet ingredients and stuff in there. So you don't necessarily have to let it dry out.
Right.
It is a little bit better if you do. Again, I'll start with, this is one of the companies I really like called Base Culture. They do a couple different types of bread. They also do a raisin bread. It's low carb bread. It's actually relatively lower fat too. So for people who don't necessarily, they want low carb, but they don't necessarily want keto or super high fat, Base Culture does some great breads. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them in some grocery stores. And then the other, this is probably my favorite bread right now. It does come in a cube, in a box, which is interesting. And it's called Uprising Food. So uprisingfood.com. They have the best bread out there, I think, right now, personally. You slice it. It's just a square loaf. So I think you can get probably good 8 servings out of it. And then same thing, you would just let it sit out, dry it. This one you could actually do without drying it. It's a dry enough bread. And then another quick thing is people who find bagels, anybody who does a low carb or keto bagel, you can use the bagel as a stuffing for, you're breaking it up and ripping it up. It doesn't matter the form that it comes in. All that matters is that you have the bready type texture.
Right.
And another company, this is just to show, Ron uses these a lot as his hamburger buns. It's a company called smartbun.com or smartbaking.com. And same thing, you're just tearing it up. So if you find companies you like out there that do bagels or do hamburger buns, use those if you like the taste and texture of those. So sometimes, it really comes down to taste. So that's it. You're going to make your bread. You're going to tear up your stuffing. You can take any stuffing recipe you want and use a low carb bread with it. The cauliflower version is just, you're using cauliflower instead of the bread. So it's just a replacement for people who are not doing any, let's say, nut flours. They're not doing any of that stuff. And you're using all the same ingredients, the sage, the thyme, the rosemary if you want, the salt, the pepper, the butter. You're putting all that in there. The only difference with the cauliflower one is you're roasting it. You're just going to roast the cauliflower florets, the onions, the whatever you want to put in there. So it's pretty simple. And the recipe it states it as is. It's a really, really simple, easy thing to do.
So you really don't have to make your own bread. I like that, but I like the idea. But I like the idea of making my own bread because there's a lot of things I'd like to do with bread. Like I'd love to start having French toast again. Would this bread work well in a French toast? It does.
It works really well, and it works. Obviously peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or whatever people want to do. But it works wonderfully. And they like I said, most of them come in pre-cut loaves like this. Some are the solid. You got to cut it up yourself. But either way, it works as French toast. You take your egg wash, or your egg, and you soak your bread in it, and then you just pan fry it. So yes, you could. French toast was my favorite thing growing up. I wasn't a pancake girl. I was a French toast butter kind of person. But yeah, I mean, however you want to use it.
You know what? I just so when I was a kid, the exciting thing about Christmas time was my mother would make perugina. They make that bread around Christmas time. It's got dried.
Yeah. With all the fruit bits in it and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mother used to make French toast with that. She would, because it was like a round loaf, and she'd cut it round and she'd dredge it in egg and cinnamon and throw. Oh my God, I love that.
It's a sweeter bread. Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah. I mean, but that's one of the great things about, like I said, this company Base Culture is they do a cinnamon raisin bread, and it's phenomenal. It's a really great, and even with the little bits of raisin, it doesn't add that much carb unless you're someone who's looking for absolutely nothing. It was just a few grams, per your couple slices. But that does a great cinnamon raisin French toast type taste in the morning. So yeah.
So every household could, because most stuffings are pretty much the same. Like you said, rosemary, all the celery. But my mom used to like to put chestnuts. She would bake the chestnuts and then slice them up and put them in there. And I loved it because they would kind of get soggy and soft in with the stuffing from cooking in the bird. Did you have any special things that you like to put in your stuffing that kind of makes it an original?
I like the sausage thing. So for me, I like to put sausage in it. I actually do like the roasted salted pecans. So I like putting some of those chopped up in there. It's just a salty roasted. It just adds whatever people like. Honestly, I mean, that's what stuffing kind of is. It's when you think of bread or rice or pasta, it's whatever you want to do to it. It's the carrier. It's like pizza. You have the pizza crust. It's all the stuff you want to put on it, and that's kind of really what a stuffing is. So some people do half bread stuffing and half rice, like a rice pilaf, and they mix that together and then bake that in a pan. And so you've got part rice, which gives you a certain texture, and part of the bread chunks. So it's just really all kind of what you want to do with it. I know people who do mostly sort of just almost all vegetable. Right. And that's their stuffing. So it's all how you want to make it. And it's really at the end, it's about the seasonings, whether you put vegetable broth or chicken broth or a lot of butter or, all the seasonings, it's just really whatever you want to make it.
Could you take this bread recipe and add some casein, which is something you taught my audience about in the past, to create the stretchy gluten-esque type dough out of it?
So protein is going to give it a bit more of a density. It's going to make it harder, tougher. So if you have a bread recipe and it tends to be where it's like, oh, it's a little too wet, or it's a little too it's too solid, it doesn't create the bubbles. Sometimes putting protein in there will help it expand. So it will expand it, but it can, especially if you use whey protein, like a whey isolate, you're going to get a denser bread. A micellar casein would be a better way to go for sure. But again, you can't just put like 5 scoops in there and just,
you got to figure it out. You got to work it out. Because what I was thinking of was actually not something like pizza crust, but not for pizza. So I once in a while, I like to I haven't done this in years because Elisa doesn't eat pork. But what I used to like to do is I used to love to get a nice big pork loin. Okay. And then cut a pocket into it.
Right.
And then take Italian sausage and dried apricots and stuff it and tie it. And then once you get it to stay together, you take the string off and then you roll it in a nice, not a phyllo kind of dough, but a nice, like what is that? What is that when they take a steak and they add?
I'm trying to think of that name. They call
they bake it. Wellington, beef Wellington.
Yeah.
So, and I like to roll it in a crust, and I've never thought about how I could make a faux crust for that. Could I do that with this bread recipe?
No, it wouldn't work well for that. No, because it would just be too dense, too thick. It's not like sort of puff pastry enough.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't work for that. What you want to do to create more stretch is fibers, and most people don't just tend to use fibers in their house very readily. Nor do many people use gums. So like somebody asked a question earlier about a gravy recipe or something like that, or a dressing recipe. And honestly, like xanthan gum or guar gum, those are types of gums that people should keep at home because it's thick enough. It's instead of using cornstarch where you've got carbs. If you use gums and also even fibers, that's where you're going to get your stretch or your stabilization. There's different gums for different things, and people would just have to read up on it a little bit. But yeah, we keep fibers and gums readily in the house and use them for just about everything. I mean, even making ice cream, you want to use some gums
makes
for
it
that.
thicker. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it gives it a thickness.
we're moving into a new home. We're going to have Thanksgiving at the new home. I'm making the pumpkin cheesecake that you taught us about last time, and I'm going to take a stab at the stuffing using the bread recipe.
Okay, good. You'll have to let me know then.
Oh, I'm excited. I couldn't wait for this show because you're like, this is for me. People were like, oh, we don't like stuffing. Good, go away. I want to learn stuffing I can eat because that's important to me. I've missed it for so many years. I just won't eat.
Good. Well, like I said, there's so many products out there right now. There's a lot of companies that are doing breads and things like that. And yes, you have to research and dig them out online. They're not easily found in grocery stores, but hopefully in time it will be. But yeah, for people who don't bake and just don't want to take the time to bake, there are breads out there to use. And there's a lot of burger bun companies now coming out. There's another company called unbun.com. And they actually, at a couple restaurants locally here to us, they use their buns for their keto burgers and stuff like that. So that's another great company. And again, you're just tearing up the bun. It doesn't matter what form or shape it comes in.
Yeah, so, because my mother used to take like for weeks ahead of time before Thanksgiving, she would save the Italian bread, and we had a bread box. People had a bread box back in the day.
Yeah,
and it would get so hard and crusty. And then she'd put it in a colander and add water and mush it up. And break it up, and then she'd add her spices, and that would be the base for her stuffing.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a totally different way to do it.
Stale bread. It was stale bread, basically.
So you can. There's 101 ways to do stuffing. So it's just finding what your base is going to be, whether you're going to buy it or make it or whatever. So
no, this is great. So again, I'm going to give the website. There's two ways to get these recipes. You can go to shrnetwork.biz/cooking with Shannan, and Shannan is spelled Shannan. Or you can follow Shannan on Instagram at Quest Creator, and you'll get so many great recipes that slowly you'll start to integrate these into your family's meals, and you'll actually find people go, I don't know why I'm losing weight, honey. What are you doing differently? Well, but no one will ever tell you it's Shannan because they want it to be their own. They want everybody to
That's fine. Hey, as long as people are getting healthier, I don't care.
There you go.
Good.
I want to thank you for making time to come on the show, and I wish you and Ron a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you.
Wonderful.
Same to you guys.
And you know what? I am very thankful for this show. Not for the show itself, but for all the people it's allowed me to become friends with, and you and Ron are right at the top of the list.
Oh, thank you. We feel the same. We love you, Carl.
Okay, we'll talk to you later, Shannon. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
So there you have it. There's no excuse to avoid stuffing this year. Go to shrnetwork.biz/cooking with Shannan, Shannan, or follow Shannan on Instagram at Quest Creator. We'll see. Now, I'm off tomorrow and the next day because I'm moving into the new house. So I will see everybody actually next Monday. Have a safe and wonderful week, and we will see you later.